Hello and welcome to the Light Reading Podcast Network. This is one of Light Reading's series of sponsored interviews where we examine topics relevant to the communication sector and we look at it through the lens of the people and technologies that are driving the industry forward. My name is Armita Satari and I'm the head of custom content and editor at telecoms.com, a Light Reading sister company. Today, I'm joined by Dirk Verhaegen, Vice President and General Manager of Nokia's Broadband Devices Business Unit. Dirk, many thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Super. Our main topic of discussion for today revolves around the question of how to build a better Wi-Fi experience and transform Wi-Fi from a cost center to a revenue driver with cloud-managed networks and AI insights. To give a little bit of context, Wi-Fi seems to account for the majority of in-home connectivity, and today there are over 21 billion Wi-Fi devices in active use. Analysts also suggest that broadband is the biggest and most important digital home service, especially as broadband services are growing both in speed and sophistication, and there are over 500 gigabit and 160 multi-gigabit networks in operation today. Meanwhile, many customers don't see broadband and Wi-Fi as separate entities. They just see Wi-Fi as that thing that connects them at home. So essentially, Wi-Fi defines people's experiences. So Dirk, with that in mind, how is Wi-Fi holding up to the broadband challenge?
Yeah, as you said, Amita, connectivity is not just anymore a matter of us sitting on a fixed PC close to the router, doing whatever we want to do over the internet. It has evolved to the most broad connectivity method for about everything we're working with, going from our PCs, but through all kinds of sensors and devices in the home. I mean, I personally have over 90 devices connected over Wi-Fi in the home, so it is ubiquitous. And it's therefore important that, first of all, you have powerful devices that, through an extended network, can cover the entire home. Because we want to have that experience, that connectivity experience in every place, every point in our homes, and preferably at those gigabit speeds that you rightfully mentioned. So for that now, the new standards that are coming into play, Wi-Fi 7 most namely, are very important to reach those speeds, but also to guarantee that connectivity in every place of the home. Because many people don't realize, but Wi-Fi 7 is the first evolution of the technology where the connection is faster than over a fixed cable. We all used to have this feeling like if it has to be good, I need to plug in a cable in my PC and then it's going to be fine. Actually, with Wi-Fi 7 today, you're going to have a better experience over the air rather than over the cable. Now, having those devices is not simply enough because the devices itself, the root devices as we call them, the gateway, and the extended devices, they need to work closely together. But they also need to make sure that the connectivity of all of these Wi-Fi clients is optimal.
That absolutely makes sense. You're right. So what I'm hearing there is we've got great developments in the industry, especially with the Wi-Fi standards, Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi 7, powerful devices out there, but there remains still some complexity of Wi-Fi. I feel like there's also special complexity when it comes to residential areas in densely populated locations, which can then lead to users not having the best performance and coverage. So it feels like sometimes you can have the latest broadband access technology and your Wi-Fi kind of acting like your last mile. I sense like it can inadvertently act as a bit of a bottleneck. So how can operators improve the Wi-Fi experience then?
Indeed, having just the right equipment is by far not good enough anymore. I mean, Omdia research found that about 60% of all helpdesk calls are Wi-Fi related. I mean, through our many interactions with our customers, I can even say that in many cases it's 70 to 80%. Wow. And these customers, they don't just call and say, I have this problem with my Wi-Fi router and this device can't connect. They simply say the internet doesn't work, figure it out.
Yeah.
That's reality today. So what does it mean, that figuring out? Well, if you can't do the right diagnostics, it can mean that you need to send an operator technician to the home because they can't diagnose the system. And in the end, the only thing they can do is go to on site and try to fix it there with a very high operational expense. And of course, if during such a conversation of figuring it out, you can't be very effective or efficient in that call, then it will lead more yes than no to customer dissatisfaction and a real impact on your net promoter score, which is what about every telecom executive is measured on these days. So it is really important to be able to help your customers when they encounter problems as soon as possible. And as we said, it's not just PCs anymore that are connected. It's also centers. It's sometimes very cheap centers bought for a few dollars on Alibaba that don't necessarily have the best technology and that then create problems. Now, being able to diagnose that is absolutely key. So how do we do that? With operator managed Wi-Fi, the whole aim is to lower the operational cost in first instance. How can you do that? First of all, to allow the help desk agent to get a real-time holistic view on what's happening in the network, but also to give network administrators that are covering or that have a view on your neighborhood, basically, to give them an overview of what could go wrong and how the various Wi-Fi installations around you are configured to make sure there's at least interference and interruptions as possible. And it's that latter that becomes even more important in densely populated areas or in MDUs, in apartment buildings, where sometimes you see, if you do a scan of your Wi-Fi networks, you see tens or even dozens of Wi-Fi access points that all are, let's say, fighting for the same bandwidth, same spectrum, because it's one thing that many, let's say, end users don't realize is that Wi-Fi is an unregulated spectrum, which means everybody can fight for the same spectrum at the same time. And especially in those densely populated areas with many client devices in every home, that becomes a real problem. And next to that, of course, you have the normal operational tasks that you need to do with the devices that you have at your customer's home. They need to be updated. And it's not because, for instance, a reputable device from Nokia or any of our competitors is badly designed. Security is extremely important, and security flaws in these devices are discovered every day, no matter how well they are designed at the outset. So you need to be able to update them to keep your customers safe in their online experience.
Okay, so that's really significant. Operator managed Wi-Fi essentially reduces OPEX and the risk of subscriber churn, and increases that all important loyalty and quality, which is increasingly also important for customers. It also sounds like managed Wi-Fi can then enable operators to pay more attention to growth. So, Dirk, are there any other benefits to a managed Wi-Fi network that can help there?
Yeah, sure. But let me come back on one comment you rightfully made. Customers don't shy away or turn away from a CSP because of quality problems. They go away because they're not helped properly with those quality problems. Yes. Everybody realizes that things can go wrong. Everything in technology these days is so complex that if you call a help desk, you want to be helped. And if you're helped, you feel happy about that and you're not going to go turn away. So it's just a small nuance on the right comment that quality is the root cause, but the real root cause is how do you help them?
Absolutely, and I can agree.
What we do with our solutions. So moving back to that question of additional revenue and additional revenue streams, and if there's one question I get from every executive in the telco space is how can you help me to grow my revenue base? Because I have a subscription-based connectivity business, and I can ask only this much money because all of my competitors are asking the same. And if I introduce new technology for higher speeds, then I can ask a little bit of a premium for maybe 1-2 years, and then it goes again to the same level. So they have a fundamental problem. how to increase that with our Corteca Cloud platform next to the managed Wi-Fi. We also enable the use of additional applications. We call them the apps for the gateway that are managed dynamically through what we call a marketplace, an application marketplace hosted by Nokia or by the CSP. And those applications actually allow you to add functionality to the gateway, because don't forget, a gateway is sometimes an expensive device. And it's all based on CapEx expenditure by the CSPs. There's almost nobody in the world that doesn't give that device for free when they sell you a subscription. So how to recover that is important. But they are much more capable than what they're used for. They're capable of running additional services, additional applications without interference to the, let's say, core usage of providing connectivity. And then I'm thinking about functions like gaming acceleration or security services, parental control, something that a lot of end users are very interested in and willing to pay for, which is the key thing here. Because we want to keep our kids safe. We don't want them to be exposed to all kinds of things that happens on the internet. And by now, I think everybody realizes that that's not minor. So running those applications in a sandbox, again, to prevent that they can influence the normal connectivity function of the box is extremely important. And we're helping our customers to not only launch those, but also develop those applications. We have something which is called the Corteca Developer Toolkit, which allows every developer with basic knowledge of C and C++ to develop those applications that run seamlessly on the gateway.
You mentioned security and parental control. I just wanted to pick on those two. Security is on top of mind for a lot of consumers at the moment. There's so many surveys out there. If you just, search online, you will see that consumer surveys show that security is important to them. They are aware of device security, but for various reasons, one being effortfulness, they don't adopt. But if you've got your trusted operator already who's serving you, and we know most of our broadband providers for many years, they're already serving you. If there is this sort of, premium tier where you sort of, add a few quid on top and you can add that security to all of your home devices.
Exactly.
That is so much less effortful than having to think about, who is a great security service provider that I can approach? Having to shop around again is it can be such an effortful task. And then parental control, you mentioned, that one is such a huge topic, at least for us here in the UK right now. I don't know if you know the Online Safety Act, but that has kind of triggered a lot of operators to act. On the mobile side, the mobile contracts, a lot of those operators kind of introduced a few parental control features, but kids don't just use their smartphones when they're out. They also use them at home. They come home, they are on their game console that is connected. They do their homework on their laptops and they need connectivity. And as you said, who knows how many other devices there are. I think you mentioned you had 19 devices connected in your home, or
90.
90. That is a record number. So I don't know how, kids nowadays are constantly connected. So I think this then become incredibly important. This becomes incredibly important for parents as well. And if you can have that just one switch, if I just tell my broadband provider to sort me out, so to speak, then I don't have to think about all of these other individual things. That's a good segue to our next question then as well. So considering all these benefits we are going to get with managed Wi-Fi, what kind of results can CSPs expect from managed Wi-Fi?
Yeah, when we started this journey with our Corteca platform about 4 or 5 years ago, We had an expectation that this would have an impact, but we never had an expectation that on what we see now. So just let me give you a few examples, and this is an important customer of ours in Asia that has introduced Corteca on its install base. And by the way, our Nokia Corteca cloud platform is completely multi-vendor. So it's not just Nokia devices that can be managed. It's every device that they have in the installed base. But they've seen, for instance, a decrease in the length of a helpdesk call from 22 minutes down to 11. That's a decrease of 50%, which means, in principle, if you have the same number of calls, you need only half of the people to service them. They've seen truck rolls decreasing by 40%. In this particular case, this meant 40% less truck rolls at more than $150 per roll. And which is even more important, they saw the number of calls, which is still the ultimate goal, dropped by 30%. So customers that could be helped, one, by the intelligence in the system itself that does a lot of things on the background, or could prevent issues from happening through our automatic algorithms, and it dropped by 30%. So these numbers are huge. We're estimated that a CSP with about a million of broadband subscribers can reduce OPEX in the range between 6 and 10 million on an annual basis, which are very significant numbers.
Wow. Yes, these are significant and fantastic results as well. And not only represent better customer experience, I think they also then stand for potentially a better customer relationship. That I think to wrap up, it would be great if Dirk, if you could share some forward-looking thoughts with us and tell us what's next in managed Wi-Fi.
Yeah, obviously AI. You can't have a tech talk without mentioning AI.
Yes.
So I think most people start to understand how AI works and how it can help. So it's primarily what you need is lots of data, lots and lots of data. And we are gathering lots of data with our systems. Just to give you an idea, every 24 hours, our Corteca systems that have been deployed around the world record 193 billion unique Wi-Fi related data points. And we're actively using those to optimize our models and to optimize the way that the system can autonomously help making everything work fine. I mean, we are collecting 21 terabytes of data every month by Corteca. So obviously, we're not storing all of the data because a lot of it is privacy sensitive, but we can use it in an anonymized way in many cases, also on the request of our customers to optimize those models again and to help them. So, but now when we talk about what's next, because this is just what enables it. First of all, what we do already is we're using AI algorithms and AI models to have more advanced radio resource management. What does that mean? Is that the system is more capable of making intelligent decisions on band steering, on channel selections to make sure that everything keeps on working well, even in a crowded environment. And that we do already right now. But the next step, which we'll introduce in the next couple of months, is to really focus on customer agent efficiency. I mean, you need to know these systems, they are so capable these days that they also become complex. And although we try to provide all insight, simplification, workflows as possible to make the life of a customer agent as efficient as possible, they need quite some training to really get to know the system and get the maximum out of it. Now, we're addressing that in a way that the language models that are underlying our system, they're going to do all the data gathering, all the telemetry gathering, all the data points that the system is providing on the background and give meaningful dialogue back to the customer agent so that rather than having to do 20 clicks to get to a certain point, they can simply ask a question in one of 93 languages, indicating what is wrong, and the system will actually help them and guide them through the process of troubleshooting, which is a very different way of working and which has two main advantages. One, customers are going to be helped faster because you don't have to do all that clicking and searching and asking questions. And second, the training of the operators, of the agents, is going to be much reduced. And why is that important is because, frankly, we all know that being a call center agent is not a long time employment in many cases. People do that in between jobs. It's not something that nobody has the ambition to be a lifelong call center agent. So there's a lot of churn, there's a lot of attrition in those teams, and minimizing the training needs is absolutely important. And then second is that we're also providing more capabilities in the mobile app. You have to know the devices of Nokia and many of our competitors. They are accompanied by a mobile app that you can use to onboard the devices, but also use to interact with your LAN and do certain settings, like, for instance, the parental control settings. Now, that app is going to have specific chatbot built-in where the end user already can start the dialogue before they contact the contact center. And in many cases, we can already solve the issue through the app with the system without even any reaching out to and again, reducing the number of calls and therefore reducing the investment needed to run your call center. But lastly, and that's where I'm actually looking forward to, is that we are going to see what we call a dynamic self-optimizing LAN. What is that? I'll explain it with an example. So let's assume you're working at home on a Wednesday afternoon. You have a very important video call, but you also have a kids party going on. Where these days the kids all have their Wi-Fi. They all want to go on your guest Wi-Fi network. They all want to be connected. They start doing all kinds of stuff. The system is going to detect this and is going to automatically prioritize the traffic on your video call so you don't have any interference of that. So this is just one example of how the underlying systems, both in our devices and the cloud managed part, is going to increase that experience that customers have and decrease the issues they encounter and therefore also decrease the costs for our customers to deal with them.
Wow, that dynamic way of allocating resources and prioritizing network traffic sounds absolutely fantastic. I could use that right now. Especially when the goal of the operators and using managed Wi-Fi networks is to kind of fix issues before the customer has even noticed the problem. And I guess it also enables the operators to be very much proactive. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Dirk. This has been a really great discussion on how to improve Wi-Fi experience and where managed Wi-Fi is headed next. And we're just about out of time. I'd like to thank our listeners. If you're hearing this podcast series for the first time, please do visit the Light Reading website on lightreading.com and check out our past episodes too. Dirk, once again, thank you for your time and for your insights today.
Thanks for having me. It was my pleasure.